Shear?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Zylan?
Here.
Berardi?
Here.
Poinsett?
Here.
Randy Arthur has recused himself, and Dwight Sangre is absent this evening.
Okay, our first order of business are the minutes for March 7th, 2022. Have you all reviewed them? Are there any changes? Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Kat?
Shear?
I think I abstain on this one.
Smith?
Abstain.
Zylan?
Yes.
Berardi?
Yes.
Poinsett?
Yes.
Thank you. We now go to a public hearing, LU 21-0060, an appeal of a staff decision approving a minor park improvement to replace an existing picnic shelter near Furnace and Green Streets and to remove 2 vine maples for construction. No, this hearing has been canceled. Thank you, Jeff. All right. I was wondering I didn't review that. Sorry.
I didn't read it.
You guys should have stopped me.
It's good to announce it, though, in case anybody's here for that.
Okay, so let's go on to LU 21-0075, a request for a 6-lot subdivision and removal of 12 trees. This site is located at 3811 Carmen Drive, 21E05CD10600. The staff coordinator is Evan Franstad, senior planner. Evan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll read the hearing procedure. This is a land use request to be considered based upon the applicable criteria and standards. The staff report lists the criteria that staff identified as applicable to the request. It was available online and from the planning department. Testimony and evidence must be directed towards the applicable criteria. We ask that you specifically identify to the commission the criteria or standards you're addressing so the commission may consider your testimony in relation to those criteria or standards. If you do not identify the criteria or standards you're addressing, the commission is not obliged to guess which standards or criteria you're testifying about and may not consider your testimony in its decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes raising the issue to the City Council or the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. The failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with specificity to allow the commission to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing process will be as follows. First, a presentation by staff, then testimony by the applicant, up to 20 minutes. Then testimony by parties in support of the application, followed by testimony by parties opposed to the application, and finally testimony by those neither for nor against the application. Individuals will be allowed up to 5 minutes. Any person in attendance may cede his or her time for testimony to another person except to the applicant, but in no case shall any person's testimony be increased to greater than 10 minutes. Recognized neighborhood associations, homeowner associations, government or government agencies, or other incorporated public interest organizations will be allocated up to 10 minutes. Applicant's rebuttal will then follow up to 5 minutes and then commission deliberation, including a statement to the applicant by the commission of any proposed conditions of approval different than contained in the staff report, and the applicant's response to the commission's conditions of approval proposed following commission deliberation. Those time limits do not include time spent responding to questions from the commission. Testimony by attorneys, representatives, and witnesses on behalf of which are part of the presentation by a person shall be counted within that person's time limit. It is assumed the persons are testifying on their own behalf unless they expressly identify the recognized neighborhood association, homeowner association, government or government agency, or other incorporated public interest organization they are representing. A potential conflict of interest declared on behalf of each of the DRC members to the extent of their business or employment, which each will identify. Unless declared otherwise, the respective DRC member does not have a known, present, or anticipated future business relationship with the project or the applicant. It's possible that a business relationship could arise in the initiation, design, construction, or maintenance of the project through either the employment or business of the DRC member personally or through a relative as defined in ORS 244-020. At this point, I would ask the commission members please declare if you've had any ex parte contacts, including a site visit, if you have any bias on the application, any financial conflicts of interest, and please state your business or employment. Mr. Commissioner Poinsett.
I'm employed, self-employed as a safety consultant. I do not have any ex parte contact, no dealings, no planned dealings in the future with this project.
Do you have any bias on the product?
I have no bias.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Craig Berardi. I'm a finance project management consultant from Northwest Pipe. I've not visited the site. I have no ex parte contacts, no bias, and no financial conflicts.
My name is Jeff Shearer. I'm a retired contractor. I did not do a site visit, but I've been by it lots of times. I've had no ex parte contacts, no bias, and no financial conflicts of interest.
My name is Kirk Smith, and I'm an attorney with the law firm of Buckhalter, Aderwin. And staff provided me with a number of names related to the project, the applicant, owner, and other related parties to the project. I ran those names through our conflict system, and our conflict system returned no hits, so I don't have conflict. I've not visited this site. I do not have any ex parte contacts, no bias, and no additional financial conflict of interest.
Good evening, my name is Mark Silent. I work for the Intuit Corporation. I have not made a site visit. I don't have any bias or any financial conflicts.
Thank you. Is there any challenge to a commissioner's right to consider the application? Hearing none, then Senior Planner Evan Franstead for the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Boone and members of the commission. Before I begin with my presentation, I should enter into record we received one testimony since the publication of the staff report on March 11th. That was from a letter from the Oregon Preservation Society received on March 18th in favor of the application. Okay, so the applicant is requesting approval of a 6-lot subdivision and removal of 12 trees. The site is approximately 1.5 acres in size with frontage on Carmen Drive and Wilmot Way. The site is zoned R5. Surrounding properties to the north, east, and west are also zoned R5 and are developed with single-family dwellings. The properties to the south are zoned R3 and developed with the senior living facility. The existing features plan shows that the site is developed with a single-family dwelling and a detached garage. The site slopes in elevation from 346 feet at the southwest corner at Carmen Drive to 364 feet at the northeast corner at Wilmot Way. There are there's 63 trees that are 6 inches in diameter or greater on the site or along the site's frontage in the right-of-way. Preliminary plat here shows all 6 lots are 5,000 square feet in size or greater, which complies with the R5 zone minimum lot size requirement. Minimum density for the site is 5 lots. The maximum potential density is 9 lots. Proposal meets the minimum and maximum density requirements. Lot 6, as shown up there, includes a single-family dwelling known as the Carmen House that is designated as a historic landmark on the city's landmark list. In November, the Historic Resource Advisory Board approved the reduction of the size of the Carmen House Historic Landmark Site to 21,185 square feet, or Lot 6, as it's shown on the proposed subdivision. No exterior alterations or changes are proposed to the Carmen House. The applicant states that the Carmen House will be given to the Lake Oswego Preservation Board upon approval of the subdivision. The site plan here shows configuration of the proposed lots. Lots 1 through 3 front Carmen Drive. Lots 4 through 6 are flag lots because those lots do not front a public street. Wilmot Way is a private access way. Lots 1 and 2 have a shared driveway approach that splits into individual driveways on each lot. Lots 3 through 5 will take access via a proposed shared access lane onto Carmen Drive. 2 parking spaces are provided for lots 4 and 5 that are located within the access lane, which is in Lot 3. Engineering staff has reviewed the design of the access lane and finds the proposed design is adequate, addressing the topography and traffic volume. Lot 6 will take access to Wilmot Way with existing driveway the same as it does today. A preliminary site distance certification was submitted providing measurements of a site distance from both accesses, proposed accesses, so the 2 on Carmen Drive. Engineering staff has reviewed the analysis, concurs with the findings that a driver entering and exiting the site should be able to see approaching traffic for sufficient distance to make a safe entrance and exit with conditions of approval, which require vegetation or other obstructions within the clear site triangles to be removed, and a final site distance letter. There is an existing elevated sidewalk and retaining walls located along the site frontage of Carmen Drive with an iron handrail located along the south edge of the sidewalk. For mitigation purposes, this development will be required to lower the existing existing sidewalk along the entire site frontage of Carmen Drive in order to match the public street grade. Engineering department staff has found that the new sidewalk will match the existing tree grade, and removal of the iron handrail will improve pedestrian safety and also sight distance for vehicles entering and exiting Wilmot Way onto Carmen Drive. As for the orientation of the flag lots on lots 4, 5, and 6, so the north lots are all flag lots. The front lot lines of lots 4 and 5 are shown along the south property lines that run parallel to the access lane. Lot 4 abuts the rear yard of the property to the west at 14591 Pfeiffer Way, whose dwelling is set back approximately 20 feet from the budding property line. Lots 4 and 5 abut the side yard of the property to the north at 14431 Orchard Springs Road, whose dwelling is set back approximately 21 feet. The applicant is providing a 7.5 side yard to the west on lot 4 and 20-foot rear yards to the north for lots 4 and 5. 6-foot fencing will be provided along the side and rear lot lines, the deepest yards for lots 4 and 5. Also, a 6-foot wide landscaping buffer includes a hedge and a row of mitigation trees is shown along the rear yards of lots 4 and 5. The site plan shows a row of mitigation trees along the west lot line of lot 6, but no landscaping along the south lot line. A revised landscaping plan is necessary that shows a 6-foot buffer along the south lot line of lot 6 as required with condition A6. Staff finds that the future dwellings on lots 4 and 5 will provide comparable setbacks as the dwellings on the budding properties, which will provide maximum separation and privacy from the dwellings on the budding properties. The site plan shows configuration of both flag lots will allow new dwellings to have the front of the house oriented towards the access lane. Structures on flag lots cannot exceed the average height of all the dwellings on a budding development site, or 22 feet, whichever is taller. The applicant provided a survey of the height of the 3 abutting dwellings. The average height of the dwellings is 24.83 feet. Therefore, the maximum height is for lots 4 through 5, and 6, 4 through 6, is 24.83 feet. The Carmen house on lot 6 is 28.52 feet in height, which is over the average. But there is an adjustment that is allowed for existing dwellings on flag lots like this, the adjustment of 15%, which allows a maximum height of 28.55 feet. The Carmen house on lot 6 complies with the height of 28.52 feet. This grading plan shows a grading necessary for construction of the access lane, sidewalk, and stormwater planter on lot 3. This is important for the tree removal. The applicant is proposing to remove 12 trees in order to construct site improvements, which includes grading for the access lane and utilities. They also will be applying for an additional 10 trees with invasive tree removal permits and type 1 permits for fruit trees that will be applied separately from this application. Staff finds that all trees requested for removal are within the area of the proposed development, thereby meeting type 2 criterion 1. The applicant provided an arborist report that states that removal will not have a significant negative impact on the erosion, soil stability, or flow of surface waters because all the on-site runoff will be managed with an erosion control plan. No nearby trees will experience wind throw impacts because the trees proposed for removal are relatively small in diameter and isolated from the trees that will remain. The tree code defines a significant tree as over 15 inches in diameter, healthy, non-invasive, and is considered significant to the neighborhood due to size, species, or distinctive character, or the only remaining tree on the property. Of the 12 trees proposed for removal, only 1 tree is over 15 inches in diameter. That is a 24-inch English elm tree shown with a red arrow. So it's located in the access lane on lot 3. As noted as in the arborist report, the 24-inch English elm tree is not significant to the neighborhood because the tree is located in the interior of the property and mostly obscured from public view by the trees at the edge of the property. Therefore, none of the trees proposed for removal are considered significant. Trees 10004 and 10112, shown in the blue circles, are street trees located in the right-of-way of Carmen Drive. An exception is required for street trees where alternatives to tree removal must be considered and no reasonable alternative exists to allow the property to be used as permitted in the zone. Tree 10004 is a 13-inch in diameter Pacific dogwood located in the grading area for the proposed shared driveway approach for lots 1 and 2, and a sidewalk along Carmen Drive. The other tree, tree 101112, is a 10-inch in diameter English walnut located in the proposed new sidewalk will be constructed along the frontage of lot 3, which meanders around a stormwater planter that's necessary to treat overflow stormwater runoff from Carmen Drive. Staff finds there is no reasonable alternative to removal of these street trees, nor provide sufficient access to the site that does not negatively impact the required sidewalk along Carmen Drive. Staff concludes the removal of all 12 trees complies with applicable criteria and may be approved with conditions. The applicant is required to plant 12 mitigation trees, one of which must be native. In conclusion, staff recommends approval of LU 21-0075, subject to conditions listed in the staff report. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions from the commission at this time.
Thank you, Evan. Do any of the commissioners have questions for Evan? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to the applicant. You'll have 20 minutes to make your presentation. Please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Danelle Eisenhart Consulting. I am the applicant representative. All right, let's see if I can figure this out. Evan already covered, here's the site. It's on Carmen Drive. We've reviewed the staff report and we agree with the staff report and don't really have any issues with the conditions and findings. But I did a couple exhibits just to show. So Evan had said in his staff report, the setbacks on lots 1 through 3 were incorrect for the front lot lines, and so we fixed that so that they're 20 feet from the actual right-of-way, just to show that we did that. And then this shows we have no problem with putting in that landscape buffer on the south side of lot 6 that Evan wanted in his staff report. We'll submit that for final plat. And then the other issue that I saw in the staff report, it's not really an issue, is to keep the retaining wall that we have. Oh, let me go back. It's on lot 3. There's this retaining wall right here because of the storm design. And you can see that, I mean, this is Carmen Drive. There's a over 6 foot wall on Carmen Drive. So we're gonna have to match this wall because we can't take that out. That's further down from our site. So we're gonna have to figure out how to get over and inside of the setback and down to 4 feet, which the engineer thinks we can get to and meet the code. So we don't think it's a condition issue. Responses slightly to the public comments that came in. The setbacks for lots 3 and 4 were designed to meet R5 standards. We don't have specific house designs right now. There was a comment about taking out the invasive trees that are along their shared property line on the west side. One of them is proposed to be removed, tree 10021, because it's in the retaining wall area. The other one we could take a look at and take out with an invasive tree permit, and we can take a look at doing that. Stormwater, they had concerns about that and impacting their properties to the west. The site's been designed to deal with the stormwater for the site on site, and further reports from stormwater and geotechnical will be required during final plat and engineering phases to prove that we can meet that. The proposed access lane provides access to lots 3 through 5, like Evan said. And we'll have the 6-foot tall fence along the west side of Lot 4. There's already a 6-foot tall fence there. It's, I believe, the other property owners, but we can figure that out. But we'll make sure there is one there. It will continue to provide privacy and block car lights. And the specific driveways for those houses will be designed when those houses are designed. The loss of trees and habitat, yes, we're removing trees, but we will mitigate for trees as well. So new trees will be put in and there will still be bird habitat on site. There's a 15-foot easement on the west property line. It's existing a utility easement that has nothing in it. We've done some research, done locating, and no franchise utility, public utility is inside that. So everything's developed to the north and the west, so there's no reason that we see that there needs to be that easement. And we've asked for it to be removed so that I don't have an existing conditions map on here, sorry. But there's an easement along this property line that's on the ECM. And I think that's it for us. So we agree with the staff report. Questions for me?
Any questions? Victor?
You mentioned the easement. What kind of easement is it?
It's a utility easement.
And who holds it?
We don't know. I don't have the answer of who built it. It's been there for a very long time. But there's nothing in there. We vetted that early on to see if there was any like cable or no, there's nothing in it. We did locates and talked to water and.
You mentioned that you requested it be removed.
Yeah, we can.
Who's the easement holder that would do that?
I think you just show it to be removed on during the final plat process, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not the surveyor, so I don't know this process there.
I think he's asking who benefits from the easement. Is it the city? Is it an adjacent owner?
I don't know. I can look that up though.
Any other questions? So Evan, did you look at the easement when you did your staff report?
My engineering staff looks at the public utility easements. I mean, as far as I know, and my understanding is that it's an old remnant easement for future utilities that was never installed. So engineering staff was fine with removing it, and they're gonna install new easements for the sewer and water and everything else.
I don't remember that mentioned. Did you cover that in the staff report? Or was it included in the engineering summary and I didn't see it?
No, it's not exactly addressed in the staff report, no, because it's not, there's nothing in the easement. It doesn't really serve a purpose.
Okay.
I can bring up the survey if you'd like. I can show you where it's at.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Is there city record keeping that would say who owns that easement or who placed it?
Is it a city easement?
No, it's not a city easement. It's on private property.
Who is the easement for?
We don't know. It's just an old easement that
It's an old easement.
doesn't
Yeah.
do anything.
You can probably figure it out by pulling a title report that reflects that easement, and it's going to tell you who the holder of the easement is. So that's why I was curious, because if it's the city's easement, you can relocate your easements. But if somebody else has it, then that might be a little bit more difficult. So
I would need to consult with the engineering department and see what their take is on it. I know they're not concerned about it.
Right.
Okay.
Kat, can you bring up my presentation again? I can show them the existing survey. All right, so it's 15 feet right here.
I thought it was
There's verbiage on there of what it is, Evan,
utility easement.
if you can read it. I can't read it from here.
I can't read from here either.
Can you read it from your screen, or no?
No, I don't.
No, you don't have it there.
Well, it says public utility easement, there's a process by which one can go through to vacate a public utility easement, notification to potential utilities, and that can be handled, not a problem. The question for the commission is whether or not utilities can be provided to the site. We don't have to try and figure out whether or not there's a problem about removing the easement. If there is an easement on there that can't be removed, if that was private per se, well, then that's the applicant's burden of trying to develop on a site around such an easement. So I don't think that's an issue for the commission to be terribly concerned about.
Sure, you got a question?
I just was looking at one of the plans and it looked like that 15-foot easement, cuts off an edge of lot 4 and lot 3. So I was trying to figure out how they're going to build their buildings over that 15-foot easement. But it sounds like if it's...
They may have a smaller building. If they can't build over if there's an easement, if it can't be released, they would end up having to address the requirements of the easement, which some easements would allow you to construct over. We do have situations where structures are constructed over the easement as long as we have access for our purposes in getting to the line. So, it's something to be worked out. And then ultimately, if the easement said you can't build on top of it and it wasn't something that could work out with the city, and if that's what the owner of the easement said, you can't build on top of it, then they'd end up having to locate their structure, away from the easement. It's kind of their private property problem.
Thanks.
A question to extend on this, if the easement can't be released for some reason, hypothetically, does that compromise the size of those 2 lots with respect to the other restriction? Because that's the critical issue.
Yeah, no, it does not. The lot area is defined based upon the boundaries, and easements are not deducted. The only time easements are deducted from the lot areas on the flag lot, we don't count the pole, the access easement for that purpose.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we'll have parties in favor of the application. You have 5 minutes. Unless you're representing a neighborhood association, you have 10. We have 1 person in support, and that would be John Gustafson. John?
Thank you all for hearing this case tonight. I'm John Gustafson. I'm president of the Lake Oswego Preservation Society, and we are in support of this application.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
Evan, does he have 5 or 10 minutes?
10 minutes as a nonprofit corporation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're keeping time?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll be quick. We are in support of the application. Evan and staff have done a good job. We want to thank the property owner and the developer for working with us and other members of the community on what we believe is a really good outcome on this particular site. Obviously, the Carmen House is important to not just Lake Oswego's history, but the whole state's history. So finding a way that this property could be developed and have the house preserved and still maintaining good neighborhood character around there was something that we worked hard on, and we are thankful that the development team was as cooperative as they were. We've reviewed the conditions of approval and find those reasonable and support those as well. So we urge your approval so that this good win-win development can move forward.
Thank you, John. Commissioners, any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we have 2 people want to testify in opposition. They're both on Zoom. The first one is Ruth Rieger.
Okay.
Ruth, are you there?
Okay, am I there? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have
Oh.
5 minutes. Are you Ruth?
I'm Ruth, yes.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
And just, I will interrupt 30 seconds before in a voice since you can't see the clock.
Thank you.
I won't take that long. Good evening. My name is Ruth Bregar. I live at 17 Hillshire Drive. And that's in the Westridge neighborhood in Lake Oswego. I am co-chairman of the Westridge Neighborhood Association, but I'm not addressing you in that capacity this evening. I'm just speaking for myself. And I thank you for allowing time in this meeting for citizen input. I'm speaking to you tonight in a voice of opposition to the proposed development on the Carmen Drive property. I have no vested interest in the property, nor do I live anywhere near it. The reason why I oppose this development is I would like to see the house and the land saved. I think I'm whistling in the wind this evening, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. Several months ago, I watched a lecture by Thompson Mays. He is a well-known historian. He is vice president and deputy general counsel for the National Trust for Historic Preservation. In his talk, he frequently referred to his book, Why Historic Places Matter. The subtitle of the book is How Historic Places Affect Our Identity and Well-Being. He makes the point that it's not just the large mansion-type structures that are important, but humble homes and buildings also matter. He says it's important to look at the emotional side of an issue. It's the families and the memories made in these homes and the importance of honoring the legacy of these families that matters. To quote Thompson Mays, old places serve as reference points for measuring, refreshing, and recalibrating our identity over time. They are literally the landmarks of our identity. He goes on to say, without exactly paying attention to it, we also absorb information about people, how they lived, what they ate, how they worked, how they made money, how they coupled, how they raised their families, and how they lived and died. And in learning about others from the past, we learn about ourselves. In 2015, the state Supreme Court, the Oregon State Supreme Court, ruled to protect the house and the property on which it stands. What I don't understand is why the property now is deemed not part of this historic parcel. At some point in time, the city thought that the Carmen family was important enough to name a street after them. Can't we just hang on to the family's final legacy and save not only the house, but the 1.25 acres of land that it sits on? One rationale for developing part of the Carmen property is that there is a past precedent for selling off parts of the land. Heirs of Walters and Lucretia Carmen have sold off most of the original 300 plus acres. We don't know why they did that. Could it be that they were in so need of money that they had no choice? Another reason given for decreasing the land area for this proposed development is that the land behind the house has deteriorated considerably. But how hard would it be to upgrade it to a beautiful park-like setting? I realize that this current deal saves the house itself and places it in the hands of the Lake Oswego Preservation Society. Of course, that's a good thing. I only wish that we could take it a step further and also save the 1.25 acres of land, which is all that is left of the original acreage. Isn't there any way to cut another deal to preserve both the land and the house? Have the people who are handling this investigated every possibility? There must be another solution. I understand that the proposed development checks all the city's required boxes. That may be an efficient way to determine what to save and what not to save, but this method strikes me as very cold and calculated. It ignores what Thompson Mays advocates. Why not think about Walters and Lucretia Carmen, their children and grandchildren who ran and played on this land? Without the property, the home loses a substantial amount of its charm.
30 seconds.
I urge you to step outside of these check boxes and take another look at whether this proposal is the right thing to do. Because once the property is gone, it's gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Any questions for Ruth? Okay. Next person also testifying in opposition and on Zoom is John Robinson. John?
Hi, this is John.
Hi, John. You have 5 minutes, and Evan will interrupt you with 30 seconds to go.
Hello, Council. This is John Robinson. So I am in opposition. However, it was addressing some of the mitigating factors could change to neutral. So I represent the property just adjacent to the west side at 14600 Pfeiffer Way. And so backs up against what would be lot 3. And then also to the just north of me is our other neighbor backing up to lot 4. Some of the concerns that we have is, and the party is looking at addressing, is the trees. So trees 10021 and 22, like those to be removed as they're encroaching on our property line as well as our fence. So that's an issue that could be addressed with the property. But during construction, we're really concerned about the runoff with this grade there. During the construction, we're concerned about water runoff as a result of the developing that property. So if that could be addressed during construction, that'd be satisfactory. In addition, we mentioned the wildlife. There's a number of rats and raccoon families living over in the property. Having that addressed as well so they don't migrate or vacate that property and migrate over into our neighborhood. So those are a couple issues there. And then the largest one is privacy, because there is a grade between the Carmen property and the Pfeiffer Farm properties. Is now you have 2 built up homes, lots 4 and 3. We're peering down into our homes in the Pfeiffer Farm neighborhood. And so that's an issue that we definitely want to address, is the privacy aspect of that, whether that be a 6-foot fence wouldn't be adequate, but if there's vegetation, a hedge of that nature to address the privacy, that would also satisfy that. And then also satisfying, because the driveway will butt up against the property line there, just something to protect us from a car going through into our backyards where our families are. That is all I have. If there's any questions, happy to take this at this time.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, John. Have you talked to the developer, and what kind of response did you get from a couple of these?
My wife did reach out, and she had not received any responses from them.
Okay.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, John. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Kat, do we have anybody else? Okay. Now we would have the applicant's rebuttal. Do you want to say anything after hearing the testimony tonight?
I don't really have much of a rebuttal. For John, I don't know who they reached out to, but we can have a discussion if that's, and I tried to address some of that stuff with our slides, our presentation. I did find an email about that easement, if you want me to read it, from Todd. Do you want me to read that?
Okay. From who?
So we can find this. There was a question in the pre-app meeting if the existing public utility easement along the site's west boundary line can be vacated. I had Tom research, and there does not appear to be city facilities located within the easement, and we do not see any future public city services needed installed in that easement area. Therefore, the city could release the city's interest in the easement. The applicant would still need to verify with all the franchise utility companies to determine if there are any utilities located in the easement or if it can be quitclaimed from their perspective. So we've done that research, so it can be, according to Todd, there's not a city issue there.
Okay.
So we'll work through that.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, please. Could you address the other issue of the ownership of the land and the seeming conflict between the position taken by the state in wanting to keep the house and everything together and the proposed plan? How did all of that transpire?
You want to take that one, John? I'm going to leave that to John.
Yeah, can I ask her a question before she exits?
We'll lead you back in a second.
Okay.
So you're talking about the Supreme Court case was generally, and in fact, Mr. Boone might be even better qualified to answer this, but it was about just the overall designation on the property at the time, which did include the house and the whole lot. So the court never took into consideration the difference between, you know, lot size A and lot size B. It was just the designation that was in place at the time the application was made to remove the designation. So the decision the court made was to not allow that designation to be removed from the house and the property as it stood at that time. So HRAB's hearing was on, I think, your question, which is how much value does the overall lot size play into the value of the house? And quite honestly, that's what the, not just the Preservation Society, but the Oswego Heritage Council and, you know, a lot of preservation-minded folks in the community had to tackle with. And I think the public comment you heard about that is really reasonable. I think in an ideal world, yes, we would probably have even more of that original farmstead left to preserve. At one time, the historic designation also covered a barn that was on the property. The barn burned down at some point, and then the designation was removed. And it was actually changed from, at one time, it was a designated farm type property. When there were really no remnants of a farmstead left, it was just changed to the house, and that was a previous decision of another Lake Oswego HRAB decision, I believe, that changed that designation. So the designation has changed over time as the character of the site has changed. So the latest decision that HRAB considered was, is the historic significance of the house tied to that 1.25 acres? And the conclusion that HRAB came to, along with our organization and the other ones, was that the most important thing at this point is the house and the history that's associated with it, and that the remaining land is not critical to that important story.
HRAB?
Historic Resources Advisory Board, sorry.
Right, that board is charged with determining the historic designations, and so an application was filed to define the boundaries of the historic landmark area. And so I think it's lot 6.
Lot 6.
Lot 6 consists of the house and the area defined as the landmark, and that is not being further divided by this partition, by the subdivision rather. So the historic nature of lot 6 is not being impacted, and that's why it meets the Historic Preservation Code here. So there's no, I mean, that's a done decision. There's nothing that the commission needs to reevaluate on the historic preservation. Because the boundaries of the landmark have been defined and the house has been defined as there. So the question, so it's really a non-issue on the historic preservation compliance.
Thank you. Mark, anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank
Craig?
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
questions for Danelle?
Yes,
Could you, and I don't know, Evan, if I could make sure that Mr. Robertson and whether it's Evan, that there's a connection, whether it's address a couple of his issues seem really simple. Whether it's putting in a hedge in or something, gives them privacy. But I think there's a couple of things that the water runoff during construction, I'm sure that's easy to address.
yes.
And make
It's
sure
already been
that-
addressed.
Sounds
but
like there was a miscommunication and just that someone could be in touch with him. Make sure we address his concerns.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure, we can be in touch with him. I think, was that an email, Evan, that came through?
We did receive an email from him.
Okay,
Yeah, with a letter.
so we probably have his email address then,
Yes, it is in there.
so
Thank
we
you.
can reach out.
Thanks.
Bruce?
None.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Evan?
Yes. Prior to closing the public hearing, any person may request an opportunity to present additional evidence. If a request is made, the public hearing would either be continued to a date certain, not less than 7 days later, or the record shall remain open for at least 7 days after the hearing to enable additional written evidence or testimony to be submitted, and the commission would establish the period for any rebuttal written evidence to be submitted. Is there a request to present additional evidence? Hearing none, unless waived by the applicant, the commission will allow the applicant at least 7 days after the record is closed to all parties to submit final written argument in support of the application. That information would be considered part of the record but would not include any new evidence. So I ask the applicant, do you wish to submit any final written argument which would delay deliberation and decision, or do you wish the commission to decide based upon the evidence that's been submitted?
We don't wish to add anything else.
Okay, you may proceed with deliberation, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Evan. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Mark?
I'm in favor of the application as stands.
Thank you. Kirk?
In reviewing the step report and then hearing the deliberations tonight, I think the developer and the family did a good job in trying to balance the historic home and trying to preserve it, and also making an economic decision to, be able to move forward with the project. So based on that, I'm supportive of the application that's submitted to the commission.
Thank you. Craig?
Yeah, I am sympathetic with Ruth, but I would say there's a great need for housing, and the land will be used by families and kids to run around, so that's a good thing. Probably more so than if it was left as one piece. As far as the city, they did their job as far as meeting codes. That's why we're here, so I'm in favor.
Bruce?
Given all the information presented, I'm in favor.
Is there a motion, please?
Move to approve the application as submitted and conditioned.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Kat, can you poll the commission, please?
Shear,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Silent,
Yes.
Berardi,
Yes.
Poinsett.
Yes.
This is a tentative decision by the commission, and final written findings will be brought back to the commission on April 4 at 7 p.m.
We do not have any other items scheduled for April 4th, so if the commission wishes to meet at 6 p.m. instead, And we could also arrange to have you call in or participate remotely if that's more convenient for you, as we would just have findings and probably minutes that evening.
That's fine. I won't be available. I'm gonna be,
In Hawaii,
yes.
I guess, right?
You did, yes. Stina, you're on.
I think a motion to, since it's a
Okay,
unusual
can I have a
time.
motion to meet at 6?
Yeah. I'll make a motion to meet at 6 for our next meeting.
Second.
Oh, Kat?
Scher,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Silent,
Yes.
Berardi,
Yes.
Poinsett.
Yes.
Jessica, I'll leave you my phone number if you're short, someone I can call in. Cooking with the string. Okay, scheduled management update, Jessica?
Yeah, so we do not have any other hearings scheduled at this point. However, we have about 3 or 4 applications that are incomplete and could be scheduled at any time. So it doesn't mean we aren't going to meet in the second meeting in April. So hang tight and we will let you know. But at this point, we don't have anything others scheduled beyond April 4th.
Okay. Well, it's nice to see everybody. Thanks a lot. We're adjourned.